Hello history buffs and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're journeying back to a pivotal moment that arguably saved the American Revolution. We're talking about 1777, the year of the Battle of Saratoga. Forget what you think you know about powdered wigs and muskets. This is a story of desperation, brilliant strategy, and a gamble that changed the world. So let's set the stage. It's the summer of '77, and the American cause is looking grim. George Washington's Continental Army is battered, supplies are low, and morale is scraping the bottom of the barrel. The British, confident they can crush this rebellion once and for all, hatch an ambitious plan. They intend to sever New England, the so-called head of the snake, from the rest of the colonies. The plan looks brilliant on paper. 3 British armies will converge on Albany, New York, creating an impenetrable wall. General John Burgoyne, a charismatic but rather arrogant commander, will lead the main force south from Canada down the Hudson River Valley. A second, smaller force under Colonel Barry St. Leger will push east from Lake Ontario. And the big gun, General William Howe, is supposed to march his massive army north from New York City. What could possibly go wrong? Well, almost everything. From the very beginning, the British campaign is plagued by problems. Burgoyne's march from Canada is a logistical nightmare. His army is slowed down by a massive baggage train, which legend says included 30 carts, just for his personal wardrobe and champagne. The American rebels, under General Philip Schuyler, don't make it easy. They expertly chop down trees, destroy bridges, and dam rivers, turning the dense wilderness of upstate New York into a giant, muddy trap. What should have been a short march becomes a grueling, slow crawl. Meanwhile, what about the other 2 prongs of the British attack? St. Leger's force gets bogged down at the siege of Fort Stanwix and is eventually spooked into retreating by a clever bit of American deception led by Benedict Arnold. Yes, that Benedict Arnold, back when he was a hero. And General Howe? In a stunning and still debated decision, he completely ignores the plan. Instead of marching north to meet Burgoyne, he decides to capture the American capital, Philadelphia. He succeeds, but in doing so, he leaves Burgoyne completely isolated and marching deeper into hostile territory. By September, Burgoyne's situation is getting desperate. His supply lines are stretched to the breaking point, and American militia are swarming around him like angry hornets. The Continental Army, now under the command of General Horatio Gates, has dug in at a strategic location called Venus Heights, just south of Saratoga. The Americans have the high ground, fortified lines, and they're waiting. On September 19th, Burgoyne, feeling the pressure, decides he has to break through. He attacks the American left flank at a place called Freeman's Farm. The fighting is ferocious and chaotic, a brutal clash in the woods that lasts for hours. This is where heroes are made. The legendary Daniel Morgan and his riflemen, sharpshooters from the frontier, inflict devastating casualties on the British officers. And Benedict Arnold, defying Gates' orders to stay in camp, rides into the thick of the battle, rallying the American troops with his incredible bravery. The battle is technically a draw, but for the British, it's a disaster. Burgoyne suffers twice the casualties of the Americans and gains no ground. He's stuck. He can't advance, and with winter approaching and his supplies dwindling, he can't retreat. He waits, hoping for reinforcements from New York City that will never come. Weeks pass. The American army grows stronger every day as more and more militia pour in, smelling blood in the water. By early October, their numbers have swelled to nearly 15,000, dwarfing Burgoyne's weakened force. Finally, on October 7th, Burgoyne knows he has to risk it all. He sends out a reconnaissance force to test the American lines at Venus Heights. The Americans don't just repel the attack. They launch a massive counterassault. Once again, Benedict Arnold is the star of the show. Galloping across the battlefield against direct orders, he leads a furious charge that shatters the British defenses. he suffers a severe leg wound in the process. The same leg injured at Quebec, but his actions are decisive. The British lines break, and they are forced to retreat back to their camp near Saratoga. Now completely surrounded, out of food, and with no hope of escape, Burgoyne's grand campaign is over. On October 17, 1777, in a stunning turn of events, General John Burgoyne surrenders his entire army of nearly 6,000 soldiers to General Gates. It is an unimaginable victory for the Americans and a catastrophic humiliation for the British Empire. The news of the surrender at Saratoga spreads like wildfire, and its impact is felt most strongly across the Atlantic Ocean. In Paris, for years, Benjamin Franklin has been in France, trying to persuade King Louis XVI to officially join the war on the American side. The French were sympathetic. They were eager for revenge against Britain after the 7 Years' War, but they were hesitant to back a losing horse. Saratoga was the proof they needed. It demonstrated that the American colonists weren't just a ragtag militia. They were a determined force, capable of defeating a major British army in a conventional battle. The victory convinced the French that the American cause was viable. In February 1778, France signed the Treaty of Alliance, officially recognizing the United States and committing their powerful navy, troops, and vast financial resources to the war. This was the ultimate game changer. The American Revolution was no longer just a colonial uprising. It was now a global conflict. French ships challenged British naval supremacy. French soldiers fought alongside the Continental Army, and French money kept the revolution funded. Without the French alliance, secured by the victory at Saratoga, the war might have dragged on for years longer, or perhaps even ended in an American defeat. It was this crucial support that ultimately led to the final British surrender at Yorktown 4 years later. So the next time you think about the American Revolution, remember the dense forests of upstate New York. Remember the bravery of men like Daniel Morgan and Benedict Arnold, and the fatal arrogance of Gentleman Johnny Burgoyne. The Battle of Saratoga wasn't just a single victory. It was the turning point that transformed a rebellion into a revolution and convinced the world that the United States of America was a nation worth fighting for. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into history as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the moments that shaped our world. Let us know in the comments what other historical battles you'd like to see us cover. Until next time, stay curious.